Dimitri, I now hand over the reins of this podcast. My child, my baby, my love, this podcast. I give it to you on a velvet pillow. Tell us a story, my friend.
Okay, so why do we play heavy Euros? Or why do I play heavy Euros? Why do I allow myself to be punished and humiliated every night when I lose 10 times as much as I win? And I don't really like puzzles. I like storytelling. I like problem solving. I like conversation. I would almost rather do anything else other than play games. And the reason that I play games and the reason I play heavy Euros is because it's how I meet friends, and it's how I get to know people and how I solidify relationships. Um, when poker kind of does it, but doesn't really, and almost nothing else that I can think of does to this extent, other than maybe work. But work is work, and games are play. And so, in this COVID isolation uh, of the last several months, I've been thinking, is there something specifically about the games that we play as Game Brain, and most of our listeners play? Is there something specifically about medium heavy Euros that promotes getting to know the other players on a personal level, getting to know them? Uh, and I've come up with 7 things that heavy Euros. It's
It's
a
always a
list,
list.
yes.
I love it.
Qualities that I feel promote for forming relationships and getting to know people, that party games, and specifically, and I'm going to frack Tom because he's not here and I can shoot him in the back from behind. Uh, Games that Tom
Jeez.
loves, like Ricochet Robots and Pitch Car, that he thinks are fun, but actually don't do anything to, 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 to enjoy other people. That qualities that those games lack. So I'm just going to throw them out, and then later I'll try to discuss how fun party games fail miserably. So
Can I gussy up your list a little bit as you go, just
absolutely,
to make it fun?
I'll pause and anyone can jump in.
All right. No. I was just gonna go number 7.
Oh, we're gonna go in the reverse order.
Oh, sure. I thought you were gonna count them down. All right, let's go. Ready?
Yeah,
Number
because they're not in any
1.
particular order. They're not like from least to most important or something like that. So thank you so much, Matt. You go ahead. Number 1. So the
Number
thing
1.
that Tom, I'm going to shoot him in the back one more time. The thing that Tom hates or claims to hate, multiplayer solitaire, is actually conducive to forming friendships, because there's less direct interaction. Means we're not killing each other. We're not killing each other's troops on the board. We're not destroying each other's kingdoms. So no one's feelings get hurt. And I am the person who's going to get mad when somebody hurts me, when somebody takes my money or kills my meeples, or destroys my beautiful little factory. But in Le Havre, I can only get mad at myself, and that's okay. So I can talk to Paul, or even to TREY, and of course to Matt, and not be like bristling and growling all the time.
So it becomes a lubrication to a social conversation.
It becomes less. You feel stressed, but that anger isn't directed at the other people. That anger is not directed at the other players. That anger is directed at the game and at your own inability.
Yeah. Okay.
And number two, the games.
Wait. No, Matt
Oh,
has to do it.
Oh, number two.
the games are designed to be hard for everybody. Everybody is struggling. Even Trey is sometimes struggling. And Trey, you're wonderful at expressing frustration with yourself. So no one needs to feel
What does
stupid.
that mean?
You know, and you're in the same boat. Whether you're sinking or swimming, you're in the same boat. Okay, go ahead.
Oh, number three.
The games are boring. While you're waiting for some, 6 other people ahead of you to take their turn, you're going to have to find something to do, something to think about. So you'll start up a conversation. And there's plenty of opportunity to make jokes, to talk about whatever you want to talk about, to display all your quirks and weirdnesses and delightful things. So at the end of a 4-hour Le Havre game, I haven't just built a port, but I also found out a little bit about what makes Paul tick, or what the latest 20 jokes that Matt can improvise are. And of course, the worst movies, the good books. Basically, that's point number 3.
Wait, yep. Matt?
Hold on. I'm working.
Okay. You get to meet people you wouldn't have otherwise. Because an interest in games is random and self-selected. And you don't know who's coming to game night. Is it going to be somebody from Tom's Presbyterian Church, whom I never would have met otherwise? Is it going to be Tom's brother-in-law? Is it going to be another screenwriter who shares Tom's manager or agent? It's a surprise. And they're going to be interested in the games. You're not going to try to invent something to entertain them. That's not your responsibility. The game does the entertaining for you. And you have a selection of random but uniquely qualified people, most of whom are also going to have something to say about other things than gaming, because gamers don't only play games. They have to have jobs, they have to have interests, they have families, they have friends, they have things to talk about. That was number 4.
Número 5.
I didn't understand that. I need subtitles, but basically, Euro games need to be carefully studied. When you have to look at the board, you have to look at the pieces, you have to read complicated rules on little player aids. So they're played in bright light and relatively quiet. Tom plays music. I have memorized his entire playlist by heart. But basically, it's a nice, bright, safe environment, where I don't feel like fleeing, because it's like loud and dark and scary.
Number 6.
So heavy Euros are more left brain analytical, spatial, and math thinking. And that leaves the right side of my brain to wander around and free associate and talk and say nonsense, which endears me so much to everybody.
Well, out of fear of getting copyright infringed, I'll go all 7 and we'll watch them fall.
So heavy Euros need a specific number of players to get together. Often, like Matt, thank you so much for setting up the games, which you often do in advance. So you need coordination, you need playing. And so you're invested in having a good time and having a pleasant time. You basically planned this in advance. You've done a lot to make it happen. You're not there to just go, oh, this sucks. I'm leaving. You're going to give it your best shot because you've already sunk the costs, which means that everybody there is motivated to be on their best behavior, except one person that we're not going to name.
Damn.
Unbelievable.
Okay, so
Cue 11 people wondering if it's them.
it's me. But
and there we have it, everyone. The world according to DMITRY. Like, these are hard, fast
and
laws.
I love party
like,
games. I love Wavelength.
I
love
these are absolutely
Avalon,
true for all people. So go out and enjoy your games.
Oh, I did. I'm sorry.
You didn't hear him?
My poll connection has failed. So sorry. I'll shut up. Go ahead.
No, it's fine. My favorite part is that friendships are made because Eurogames are boring, which at first blush is funny, but there is something to be said for, we have long turns and people often have to think, and you're not wrong that actually does lead to side conversations happening that wouldn't happen in, a fast, breezy game. But yeah, anyone have some thoughts on this? Trey, got any thoughts?
I think we should take bets on the number of other podcasts that will do segments on why DMITRY is wrong about this. Like how many train-related podcasts will offer rebuttals to this segment. I think it is appropriately provocative. And
if they do, I just
disagree. Yeah.
If any podcast does base an entire episode on this podcast, I do ask that you retain my numbers.
I think it's interesting, like DMITRY has a unique perspective. Clearly, I there's a lot I don't agree with there because, like, I obviously find board games highly engaging. They're not boring. And I feel like when we're at our like maximum engagement with other players and like we're bumping elbows and I'm highly aware of what other people are trying to do and I've got a high level of focus, like this is actually where I get to know people better, I feel. And like if somebody's not playing a good game, like, well, I'm learning something about them, but it's not something necessarily good. I don't not feel like I'm making friends with like the chit chat that happens in between games. I feel like good games often reveal character, and like our friend Scott, who we met through Tom, like the first time he met me, he will never forgive me for a game we played in which he feels like I did a dishonorable thing in the way that I played that game, and he drew a lot of conclusions about me, and like I'm okay with that. Like games do reveal character. I think like some of the most interesting thing about our group here is actually like how we have opinions about other people, other co-hosts on this show based upon how they play. Like the people they are in ways that matter to this podcast are like how they play or how they actually play games. So some of that I just feel like, okay, this is DMITRY's perspective, and maybe I'm just more of a nerd where like that engagement and the actual conflict is the stuff that keeps me coming up. And I'm a really good friend with Paul because like I know I'm going to get a kind of brutal game from him, and that's exactly what I want, right?
And also, DMITRY doesn't really enter into the state of flow that we often talk about in these games. That's not really, and correct me if I'm wrong, DMITRY, but I don't believe that's something that you experience during these games. Like where often some of us will just be, our brains set a light in these games and the time passes like some sort of time machine, and we're so that every turn is so exciting and we're all bouncing off each other, and I feel like that's not necessarily an experience.
You're right. I experienced flow. I experienced flow in writing and in conversation, and I don't experience flow in games. I'm an excellent test taker. Like standardized exams and college tests, because I experience flow by myself. When I shut everything out, and I have order in my own little universe where I have perfect control. And a game is not that. And the communal flow is something I'll push away if I sense it happening, because it's icky. Icky.
Icky.
Yes.
Well, for me, like it's interesting that so we all play games together, and I think we're all good friends, and it's a testament to games, heavy or otherwise, that we're able to have this camaraderie, despite having vastly different experiences. Apparently, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm probably I'm a person who really enjoys pushing people and seeing how they react. I push TREY, Matt, DMITRY, Tom, everyone, and I think it is what I enjoy about the game and what I enjoy about the people. But I think in a way, like, I see, though I'm far from totally agree with DMITRY, I see his perspective. Some of the my heartiest laughs come from the the banter that comes from the board games, like, and and a heavy board game like requires a bunch of time generally, and that time is spent together, and that togetherness is actually what really I feel brings people together. Well, that sounds very redundant. That's not nearly as eloquent as I thought. But it's the idea of like we are spending hours sitting around looking at cardboard and plastic and maybe some metal, and whether it's because we're focused on how to optimize our game or how someone is making a joke or talking about some movie, like we're all bonding together, and I think that's what is really good about a heavy Euro, for example, is that it affords so many different experiences that we can sit together for hours. Like what else can you do that's 4 hours in the room that's interactive?
Like dinner is an hour and a half. And the thing is, if you go to a movie, you can't talk. Paul, I completely, totally agree with your analysis that 4 hours of sitting around is a lot of togetherness. But it's also the boredom, I think, is necessary, because at dinner, you always have to be talking. You can't stand silence in social situations. You have to fill it with something. But on game night, if there's no talking for 10 minutes while somebody's thinking about their move, that's perfectly okay. You don't feel pressured to interact until you really want to, and until the other person wants to. It's an excuse to have boring silence that's not awkward, but is actually expected. Does that?
That is something that's very specific to our hobby. Whenever I tell people the length of the games we play, they're like horrified. I mean, like the idea of sitting down and playing a board game that's longer than an hour is like, we forget that that's a shocking notion to people. Like a 4 to 6 hour game is nothing to me. Like that's like doesn't even sound odd. Like, but I think to anybody, like I'll sometimes see on like I read Reddit on board game the board game Reddit a lot, and you get a lot of new players and casual players, and they're like, my group doesn't want anything over 90 minutes, and I'm like, I don't even own a game you could play in 90. Like, what is that? Like, it's so I think we forget like that. Yeah, we spend like a game night is like you got to be in for 8 to midnight minimum, like, and that's a lot of
And
time to spend with people.
I'm sorry.
And so it's like, no, I was
You
done.
know that you're not going to leave. You've invested the time. You're there. You're stuck with these people. And to me, that, again, but
and it's
permission.
boring.
It's license. Even if you say something awkward or wrong, even if you hurt someone's feelings, that's okay. It's a ripple in a stream that's going to flow for so long that by the end of the night, almost everything will be forgiven and forgotten.
And you know how, like, you get to know, like you might have a friend that you've known for years and years and years, but like you don't really know them till you go on a vacation with them. Like just having dinner with somebody like twice a week for 5 years, like you learn more about them in like one flight, like like one like 6-hour flight across the country and one night in a hotel room than you did in like 10 years of having dinner with them. Like, and I, because people let their guard down and you get into their, you see their routine, like oh, this person gets hungry at this hour, or they get cranky, or they need to take a little walk, or like you see people's, the things that they're able to hide in a 2-hour social setting come out. And that happens in our game night also. We get to know each other's
the
idiosyncrasies,
warts.
but also, and just our routines as well, or like, our, like, but just the little humanness of whether it's a biological thing or needing to take Advil after 3 hours if you have any, like, we all know each other's like little tiny weird things that you would only know if you would like shared a hotel room. And we've also mostly all shared hotel rooms with each other on board game related trips.
And I want to say
that
that was exactly the experience I had with Trey. By the time Trey joined Tom's game night, I'd known him for, I think, over 15 years. We went to school together. We hung out. We never actually had a conversation, I think, of any length or a meaningful conversation until I actually got to know him at game night.
Yeah, it's a special thing, and I think you've hit on something there. I think your list is absurd, but also wonderful.
Absurdly
like
wonderful. That's right. There you go. Revealing character once again.
Dimitri, before we try to get a sommelier or two out, anything else you wanted to add to that wonderful segment?
I want to talk about something that Annie Duke said. She's a very famous, very accomplished poker player. And she said this on a wonderful podcast called Conversations with Tyler. And she talked about two different things. She talked about expected utility and goals. And the example that they brought up is a date and when your goal is marriage. The odds that on any given date with the first date you're going to meet the person you're going to marry are like tiny, like 2.5% maybe, is something they both agreed on. But the goal is still admirable. And people can have both a goal and expected utility in mind, that they enrich each other. They may contradict each other, but having a goal and having expected utility, knowing the odds, are necessary. Both of them for the same person. And game night is a perfect illustration of that. Because the expected utility of playing games is having fun, being intellectually challenged, passing the time, solving a puzzle. But the goal can be forming friendships, getting to know other people, getting to trust people, and forming lasting relationships. And that's the goal. And heavy Euros, for me, balance perfectly those two aspects in terms of paying off on the expected utility and also promoting what a lot of us, I think most of us, I think maybe even all of us really want.
Or the goal of board game night is to play board games and have fun doing so. No, I think this is like a different perspective. It's like I'm not going to board game night to make friends. Good friends have happened, but that was not the goal. Like I don't know. Maybe I enjoy playing the game.
No,
that's the fun.
It's ironic.
That is the fun.
It is not my goal as well. And I have made friendships along the way. And I don't think I would enjoy playing the games with people that I wasn't feeling friendly with. But yeah, my driving force is the games. And at least, I mean, when I showed up that time to Tom's game night, with no idea who was there and knowing no one there and just having like a random walking in and being like, who are these people? Yeah, I was there just for the games, and I probably would have stuck around for a while, even if I didn't end up liking you guys.
Yeah, you weren't thinking, "Hey, here's a bunch of grown men that maybe I could become friends with."
No, in fact, I had no plans at all of making friends with any of you.
Yeah, right.
And yet it happened. So doesn't that actually prove my point?
Yeah. Or I just really want to play games that much.
Fortunately, it could be both. There's no contradiction.
It is. I feel like I got lucky and got both. I happened to make some of my best friends I've ever had while also playing games that I obsessively think about and want to play every day. Hey, if you enjoyed that video, you very well might enjoy the other videos you now see being suggested to you on screen. Also, we'd greatly appreciate it if you could like, share, or subscribe to our Game Brain channel. Thanks so much.